to our second episode of Vintage City Stories, where we dive into the people and projects shaping the great city of Elizabeth here in Union County, New Jersey. I'll be your host, Don Treesh, and I'm joined today with Melissa Rosario of the SBDC.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to sit down with you today and talk about SBDC.
Of course, I'm very interested to hear what we're going to be covering.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So, since you are an expert in the field of business guidance and consulting, can you give us kind of your own elevator pitch on who you are?
Sure. So, and I'm going to start from the beginning, right? So my name is Melissa Rosario. I am the Regional Director for the New Jersey Small Business Development Center, and I'm going to make it simple. I help businesses navigate the complex New Jersey business environment.
And it is complex.
It is.
I can tell you that from firsthand experience, for sure. Well, that's excellent. So your role, I'm sure, is quite dynamic and complex. There's a lot of hats, I'm sure, that you're wearing. Can you tell us something about people that they might not know about your role and kind of how you got to this point in your journey?
Sure. So I'm going to start by saying that I started my journey at the NJSBDC as a consultant. And I did consultation for about a year and a half. So I got the chance to interact with the clients and then get to know how to best prepare strategic plans to help them be successful in their businesses. So after that, I left the Hudson County Chamber of Commerce, which I was managing as a consultant and also doing business at the Hudson County Chamber. And then I left that and I took the role as Regional Director for the New Jersey Small Business Development Center.
I did not know that about the chamber. So you're very in tune with the business community for quite some time then.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
So I spent 9 years and a half in Hudson County.
Wow.
Under the Hudson County Chamber of Commerce.
What was that like? I mean, almost a decade of experience there. That's pretty extensive.
Yes, absolutely. So when I took over as an intern at the chamber,
No.
yes, I started.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was the only Latina, and I called, kind of like an underdog, taking a role in an organization that was merely, a wide business community. Besides Hudson County being 45% Hispanic. So I started my experience just as supporting, some of the operations. Then the role allowed me to continue to grow as a membership management. And then as I continued to grow, I was able to create entrepreneurial programming and make sure that we were integrating a representation of the Latino community within the Hudson County Chamber environment.
Excellent. Wow. That's a lot to unpack.
Yes.
And I can see how that sets you up for success in your current role, for sure. Taking a step way back, is there like a core memory from your childhood that kind of helped shape who you are today and maybe has like a trail of how you got to what you have been doing?
Thinking back at my days in Dominican Republic, I come from a family that is an entrepreneurial, environment. My mom was always in the fashion industry, and I'm laughing as I'm remembering that just a couple of years ago, we had to tell my mom, you got to stop doing, business. You got to stop this. That's it. And so as my mother was in the fashion industry, she had several clothing stores. So I first started in the sales, role of the sort of the businesses that she had. Then I ended up managing the operation of the locations that she was, providing clothing and fashion to some of the people back in the yard. My father as well has a PhD in agriculture, and he owns a consulting firm. So I was managing myself between the business industry and more like a public government, environment. So all of that and a little bit of my creative mind. When I was 16, I launched the first TV. I produced a TV show in my country that lasted for like 2 years and a half. And as I was looking for opportunity to continue to grow, I never liked to do what everybody else is doing. So I had two options. I could go into business administration or marketing, which was basically potential for me being in the business environment, or I could just look into some of the components that make a business successful in the administration part and then scale that up. So I decided to go for a bachelor degree in economics, which then complements, the more global vision of how you can operate a country and understanding supply and demand. And it's more a global perspective of the economic. So I think all of that aspect in my past set me on where I am right now.
Wow. So 2 follow-ups. The first is, I'm sure any of our viewers are going to want to know what that TV program was, because if they have seen it, they're going to say, oh my God, this is the person that's responsible for it. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that experience was like, what it was?
Absolutely. So I did a TV that was focusing on tourism. And during that time, there was little of information about some of the specific tourism areas and historic areas in Dominican Republic that was available for people that couldn't actually do the travel time. More like internal people living in towns that they couldn't afford, taking, say, a road trip and go to Santo Domingo, which is the capital of Dominican Republic, and then having exposure to some of the historic parks. So I was traveling with a settled team through the country, showcasing history, showcasing some of the, areas that could actually be a potential attraction for those people that live already in the country, but those people that are also, outside.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a Nat Geo, Anthony Bourdain,
no
reservation
like
style. Well, I'm
Yes.
quite jealous. Maybe I'll get to do that around New Jersey at some
I
time.
have
We'll
fun.
see.
I have fun.
Wow. And then, so working with your parents, I mean, both of them very entrepreneurial, and I really think that obviously sets the stage. And I think there's a lot of people that are growing up in the city now where their parents are operating businesses, and they'd be able to get a lot of perspective from your story and some of that guidance. So I'm sure that people will want to reach out and be able to touch base. So we'll have that towards the end of the interview for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very interesting. So tell me a little bit more about kind of the overall mission and vision of SBDC and the associated organizations that make up that whole ecosystem.
Absolutely. So the New Jersey Small Business Development Center is the leader in providing no-cost consulting services to aspire entrepreneur or those that are already in business. And we do that thank you to the Small Business Administration and the New Jersey Business Action Center funding. If it's not for those 2 organizations, we're not able to support, the complex and entrepreneurial ecosystem in New Jersey.
Yeah. And has there been any recent projects that the organizations have been working on, kind of large scale, that you're kind of proud of, you can kind of put a feather in your cap for, anything like that you want to inform us about?
Sure. So the NJSBDC is very strategic on what the programming that we put together. So, and you can see through our website, you're going to find the capital team, the tech team that support those aspects of the businesses. But we also do a lot of regional programming, and for that I'm going to speak about the LEAPS, which is a women's mentoring program that I personally developed. And with that program, what I'm looking is to address the entrepreneurial women's ecosystem from the personal side, then the professional side, and then we're talking about the operational side of running a business. And I'm covering those three aspects because I think that for you to be successful in the entrepreneurial landscape, you need to first figure out yourself, right? You got to have your things together.
Where is that taking place, that program?
The program now is being hosted under William Patterson University, and every Tuesday from 6 to 8, a group of 26 women are gathering just to learn all the aspects of businesses that we already discussed.
That's excellent. And I'm hopeful that we can bring something like that very soon into the fold here. I know we're kind of working behind the scenes on some things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be great. So talking more so about the Elizabeth community here, I know that you've been here for a couple of months, but over the last period of time, is there anything that's really jumped out to you about what our city and our residents and working with the local organizations that has made an impact on you and kind of what you're doing within the organization?
When I look at Elizabeth, I look at a city that has so many potentials, right? And you know, because you've been here longer than me. So you were talking about transportation, easy access to transportation, water, and then air, right? And then you talk about the diverse community, all the countries that you can find just in one city. And being the fourth largest city in the state of New Jersey, that's like the place that you really got to start, looking into.
People forget how big we are.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I gotta be honest, like I was in Jersey City, I'm doing business in Patterson, and now Elizabeth, and I'm like, you know what? There's so much in common between these cities because of the diversity that is in their population. So, but Elizabeth with 66% Hispanic, it's like I can walk around the corner and I can grab my pan de bono very quickly, right? So there's so much potential, there's so much possibility, there's a lot of things going on. You guys are doing amazing work here and are making Elizabeth as an attraction for those that don't know that Elizabeth's here and provide all these opportunities.
Still a hidden gem, even fourth largest city.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
that happens when you are building a business growth and you're building economic growth in a community, right? It takes time for others to know, but then it takes one person to lead the change. And once the person leads the change, forget about it. You
Dominoes.
start to see exactly. You start to see it everywhere, and I think that's what's happening here.
Well, we're hopeful. It's a labor of love for sure.
Yes.
When it goes into cultivating that community and working kind of with the village to make it happen. Because it's not one person. It is a full spectrum of people that bring it together.
Absolutely.
So, talking about change, if you had a magic wand, all right, imagine, and you could change one aspect about that complex process of starting a business here in New Jersey, what would it be? What are those main pitfalls that new business owners or people that have been operating a business are running into that they need assistance with, and you're saying, oh, there's just this easy thing that I can help them with?
The state of New Jersey has done a great work lately on how business owners are navigating the business environment or starting a business by gathering all the resources under one main platform. And I think from that side, that has been covered. But when I talk about those that are starting a business and talking about individual or personal side, I think people can do more educating themselves before launching any business. I think education is the base, is the best foundation to make sure that when you are launching something, you're not just playing around because your neighbor is being successful. You know what you're doing, and that builds credibility when it comes to required capital, when it comes to pitching your business, when it comes to actually having the beautiful facade and making sure that you have access to the resources. People trust you because you have built a reputation and you know what you are doing.
You really kind of hit the nail on the head when it comes to having a solid plan, a game plan, a business plan. Can you just touch a little bit more on the significance and importance of a structured business plan for business owners?
Absolutely. I'm going to do this comparison. Imagine Waze, right? You use Waze, you trust Waze where Waze is taking you, but every day the transportation system, the roads changes. So Waze needs to be updating their system. The same way the business plan provide that structure to anybody that is launching or is already in business. Because without a structured document that you can refer every time you have a new idea, you are lost in the system. Don't tell me that you want to open a restaurant, but you don't know who your client it is. So understanding who your client it is will help you structure the products and services that you're providing. Understanding also who your client is will help you align your vision, will help you align your mission. And that was you're going to document on that business plan. Many people get lost in the process because it is tough as an entrepreneur to put all your ideas in a document, right? But that's when the SBDC comes to support you in writing a strong business plan that is a guide or roadmap as you continue growing your business.
And that's a really great point. It's kind of a phrase that I've heard from a lot of people where they get caught working in their businesses, not always on their businesses. And it's one thing to operate it day to day, but to actually grow really requires a lot of planning. Beyond a basic SOP, it's vision, coordination, working with a lot of different disciplines to make that happen.
Absolutely. And that oftentimes the entrepreneurs do that out of a place of trusting their staff or not having the time to properly train their staff to take over part of the operational aspect. I think there's a point that business owners need to analyze when they need to scale up and then have the staff that can support operational so they can focus on the bigger picture of their businesses.
For sure. One of the backbones of any operational aspect of a business is going to be your staff. I mean, that's without it, what do you have? You
Yes.
can't do it all by yourself.
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
and I think it's great when you are starting to consider that, not just hire somebody because you need somebody to support you, but make sure that you are training that person to operate as you were there, basically, because the staff plays an important role when it comes to the representation of the brand, but also the owner of the business. And everybody should have the same language, right? So everybody should speak done wherever it goes. Everybody should wear the VCO brand wherever it goes. Whether you are here or the owners are not here, everybody needs to speak the same language because at the end of it, every staff is the brand of the company that they work for.
That they're going to be representing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100% of the time. For, I guess, a visionary perspective, right, focusing on that, what can you envision for the city of Elizabeth in the next 5 to 10 years, right? You spent almost a decade in Hudson County, so I'm sure that you saw significant change while you were there and working with all of those organizations so closely in the chamber. What can you kind of vision for here, where we are now?
Sure. So the last 5 years, we serve about 500 businesses in Elizabeth. I'm going to see that 3 times larger than that, for sure. SBDC has a great platform, and there's a lot of people still don't know about us. So I'm going to make sure that is well known in Elizabeth. And you're going to see us doing a lot of educational programming. Again, I trust that education is the foundation to set anybody for success. Because you can take that wherever you go, and you don't have to pay for an air ticket for that. I think innovation is very important, right? When it comes to now and 5 years from now, because we're seeing AI, providing tools to increase productivity to the business owners, and we need to focus on educating more of the business community, making sure that they catch up with the technology so they're not left behind. So we're going to be doing a lot of AI trainings here as well. We're going to make sure that people have access to business plan tools that set them for success. So yes, a lot of educational programming here, a lot of events as well, making sure that people know about Elizabeth, people know about the successful and resilient business community that is already here.
I'm very excited for a lot of the programming, that is for sure. I know that there is something coming up quite quickly here. That is, what date is that again?
That is Monday, May 19. We're going to talk about some of the grants opportunity that the state of New Jersey has for small businesses. We're also going to be talking about the support that NGSBDC provides in order to make sure that small businesses navigate the application process of the grants, and as well as some of the great things happening in Midtown Elizabeth. So there's a lot of great information that will take place on May 19th, right here.
19th, yes. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, navigating the grant process is a long process. So any information on that would be greatly appreciated, and I think most business owners would agree with that.
Absolutely.
And who can say no to, free money, right? I mean, it's out there, it's ready to be taken. You have to have the right plan to put it together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so kind of just the closing questions, or more so statements on our end here. Kind of a loaded question, but who in your personal and professional network has inspired you the most in the last couple of years?
Wow, that is a good question. I'm thinking about my clients. Everybody that walks into my offices, and we have 3 locations, by the way, Wayne, Patterson, and Elizabeth, and ask for assistance, because I'm seeing opportunity and seeing somebody that has been determined to build a legacy and that wants to contribute to the economic growth of the state of New Jersey. Walking in determined to open a business is not easy because it takes a lot of energy to run a successful organization. And every time I see somebody asking for help to do that, that inspires me.
That's amazing. It really does also provide you with a unique challenge just for yourself, that because each person is different, each business is different, even if they might be selling or providing the same sort of service, there's always a separate nuance that changes everything with that.
Absolutely. Everybody has their own challenges, but we try to approach it the best way. That's why we provide the personalized consultation services in a one-on-one environment.
Yeah. Quite invaluable.
Yeah.
It really is. So kind of last question. I'm sure there's a lot of younger individuals that, follow us and want to see information from business leaders such as yourself. Could you provide us with a piece of advice for some of the young leaders within our community here on next steps, or if they're feeling a little lost, just a little bit of guidance on getting there, if you will?
When I remember my days, and I think something that is very important is to be persistent, because when you are persistent, it's because you have determined what is your vision. You know where you're going, right? So you're going to do what is necessary to get there. And if you set a goal as a young age and you work hard for it without being, stopped by people that are saying no, but seeing the no as that's not the right door, then you're setting yourself for success. And never forget to educate yourself, because people will not value because what you said that but you got to show the facts. That's what speaks value.
That's some great advice. I hope it goes out there and somebody grabs onto that and, sees that as an omen to move forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate the time and the insight, here. And is there anything else that you want to kind of plug for SBDC before we wrap up?
Sure. So if you're looking for services to launch your business, so don't forget that you can look for SBDC in the state of New Jersey. We have more than 8 centers, and we're hosted by higher educations or universities when you can get no-cost consulting services. We're here to serve you, and we're here to make your life as an aspiring entrepreneur easy.